Annie, do you want to let me know when everybody's in?
Yes, it looks that way.
Okay, excellent. Um, Thank you for coming this afternoon, everyone, to the Northampton License Commission meeting, Tuesday, April 22nd. Present this afternoon, myself, Natasha Yakovlev, Jennifer Ewers, and Amy Cahalan. This meeting is being Zoom recorded, and we are going to start with public comment. And if someone's here for public comment, raise your hand. We have a hand.
We have a hand.
Unmute you.
I will just start the timer whenever you're ready.
Excellent. We are ready.
All right. Well, fancy meeting you guys in a meeting.
Yes.
I am here to comment on, I believe, item 11. I know you guys are trying to figure out some protocol with non-renewed licenses. And oh, I should say my name. My name is Garrick Perry. I'm here not in my council capacity, but in association with NoHo Social, just to be transparent. I am here because I had found myself working for NoHo Social before they closed, and before the Iron Horse opened. I was unable to kind of smooth that transition out. I got injured, and unfortunately, the owners of the space had some personal tragedy and allowed the license to lapse. I made the decision to come on board to help manage this space again. And we have a vision of what to do with the area. So I just wanted to kind of speak to that and let you know that there is someone now locally who is really working hard to bring the space back online. It's life. Personally, I think that a lot of our efforts have been in reigniting the downtown of Northampton, and I see NoHo Social as a great entryway into our city and out of our city. So if you guys have any questions or concerns about the vision of Northampton Social, I am here to answer those later. Or if you want to discuss that with me outside of this venue, I am available to discuss that. So thank you for all you do, and I look forward to seeing what you guys decide.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else here for public comment? Seeing no hands, we will carry on. First up, we have an application for a farmer's market permit to sell beverages at farmers markets and agricultural events. This is for Abandoned Building Brewery, LLC, 142 Pleasant Street. The event is Tuesday's Farmers Market, Kirkland Ave, starting today, April 22nd through November 11th, 2025. And the time would be from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And do we have someone here from ABB?
Matt is here, and I've asked him to unmute a few times, and I don't know if it's not working or if he's not seeing it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Hello, sorry, I'm here.
Hello, how are you?
Hi there. Let me get my video up here if I can. Hi.
Sure. Hello.
So my name is Matt Tarlecki. I'm representing Abandoned Building Brewery. This is our first year. We are participating in the Northampton Farmers Market. And there was a part of the application process is to submit this application to the local licensing authority for your review. So we are here to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Well, we're here in the nick of time, apparently. So we want you to be able to get out there this afternoon.
Yeah. So we're actually going to be on every other Tuesday. So we actually
Okay.
won't be there this first Tuesday. We'll be there starting next week.
Okay. Excellent. Have you done any other outside of your like tabling or anything like that? You must have.
We've done a lot of beer festivals. We've done a lot of festivals in the area. This is our first time doing a farmer's market because the state just passed a law this year allowing breweries to be at farmers markets. So we're really happy to be able to be included in these great opportunities to get our products in front of local customers.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Commissioners, any questions or comments? I know that all documents are submitted.
I have what might be a dumb question, but that's never stopped me before, that I assume this is things being sold in cans and not like some sort of outdoor beer garden situation.
Correct, yeah. So as part of the regulation, so there's no on-premise consumption allowed of full pours. We will be offering 1 or 2 ounce samples for customers over 21. But the actual things that we're selling will be beer in cans. So there'll be no like draft pour set up, and there's no beer garden. The only thing that we will be pouring will be from cans for people who would like a taste.
Thanks.
Great. Jennifer,
Thanks,
did you have-
Matt. I don't have any questions. No.
All right. Did you want to add anything else, Matt, before we vote?
No, I think I'm all set.
Okay, great. Then I think we are ready for a motion.
Great. I move to approve the application for a farmer's market permit to sell beverages at farmers markets and agricultural events for abandoned building brewery as detailed on item 3 of the agenda.
I'll second.
Yes.
Jennifer
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
That's great. You are all set, Matt, for next week.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Alrighty, application for a short-term liquor license for Frank Newhall Look Memorial Park Incorporated, DBA Look Park, 300 North Main Street, Florence. This is a wine and malt license. Location is the train parking lot, Saturday, May 31st, 12 to 7 p.m. for the Magic for Maddie event. And a second event at the Sanctuary at Willow Lake on Wednesday, June 4th from 5:30 to 8:30. And this is for the Aspiral 7 musical performance. And hello,
Good morning.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Could you just remind us of your name for the record, please?
Yeah, it's Mark Penny.
Great. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
And so tell us about these events.
Yeah, so the Magic for Maddie, this is a new event, but the concept and design for us is the same as what we do for our fall festival weekend last year. Instead of the ball field, the train lot works really well because it's covered by hedgerow on 2 sides and possibly food trucks on another, and then a berm for the roadway on another. So it's a nice tight space that we can have food trucks and do a craft beer and wine bar and maybe some craft vendors. So the space works well. It's easy to maintain and keep the alcohol boundaries set. So
Yep.
that's kind of our formula going forward for events instead of doing the ball field.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is this a fundraiser?
It is. No, I'm not sure if you know the family for Magic for Maddie. It's a young girl who passed away tragically a couple years ago with a rare brain disease, I believe. So there's been different. The family has a fundraising group that they raise awareness, and they've done things throughout the area over the last couple of years. So this would be a first time that we've partnered with them for an event at Wilk Park. And we're still not sure how the turnout, but they've been doing other things in the valley, like 3-on-3 basketball tournaments and different things. So we thought it'd be fun to do something with the train. And
Yeah.
so this will be the first time. No idea on how the crowd will be, but it could be the beginning of an annual thing.
Sure. Yeah, no, it sounds really nice. And for the sanctuary, what is this event?
Yeah, so that's new. We've had music at the sanctuary before for playing for the Pines, but we didn't do alcohol here. So this is something Bombix reached out to us, and it's, I think, not going to be a hugely attended musical act, but maybe 100, 150 people. And so it'll be a beautiful setting for an evening concert. So again, this is, we'd love to be able to sell craft beer and wine there. I think Bombix is going to try to get a food truck, and for that we will section the area off for containment, and also because it's a ticketed event, we'll need to have like a centralized entry point.
Right. Okay, that
Mhm.
sounds like fun.
Yes, it does. Hopefully it'll be good.
Hopefully you have good weather for it, for
Yeah.
both. Any questions or comments from the other commissioners?
I had no questions.
Mark, I had a question about the alcohol boundaries, but I think you just mentioned it at the sanctuary. Can you just say it one more time?
Yeah, we definitely intend to, we'll work with Bombex and see what they want exactly, but we're prepared to snow fence the area. We're going to do the bar down near the water, so we'll have open water and that boardwalk on one side. And so we envision doing snow fence out to the little parking lot that is just for the sanctuary. I assume they're going to want an area where they're going to do ticket entry control, and so we'll kind of base it on those guidelines, but it will be contained.
Perfect, thank you.
Great. Then I think we're ready for a motion.
I'll motion to approve the application for a short-term liquor license for Frank Newhall Look Memorial Park, Inc., DBA Look Park, for 2 events on Saturday, May 31st and Wednesday, June 4th, as outlined in agenda item 4.
Second,
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark.
All right, thank you. Have a great week.
You too. Item number 5, applications for temporary extension of premises for outdoor dining on public property. Andy, would you like me to read through these for the record or just reference them?
Yes, please.
Yeah, that's fine. No worries. This is for very limited DBA Fitzwilly's Toasted Owl, 23 Main Street, 2 parking spots with 6 tables and 24 chairs. Wash It and Wear Incorporated, DBA Jake's Restaurant, 17 King Street, 130 square feet on the sidewalk for 6 patrons. Rias Bashas LLC, DBA Homestead, 7 Strong Ave, 2.5 parking spots on Strong Ave with 5 tables and 24 chairs. More Hospitality Incorporated, DBA The Dirty Truth, 29 Main Street, 6 picnic tables and 2 round metal tables in 1.5 parking spaces. Think Tank Brewers, LLC, DBA Progression Brewing Company at 9 Pearl Street, 10 tables, 40 chairs on Pearl Street in parking spots. Local Burger Incorporated, 16 Main Street, 2.5 parking spots on Strong Ave with 9 tables and 32 chairs. Abid Assad, DBA Amanu Cafe at 23 Main Street, 1.5 parking spots for 6 tables and 24 chairs. Let Me Be Lucy, LLC, DBA Gombo Oyster Bar, 159 Main Street, 3 parking spots on Main Street for 5 tables and 2 tables on the sidewalk. Sant Hari Singh Incorporated, DBA India Palace, 2 parking spots on Lower Main Street in front of the restaurant. Azad Bharat Incorporated, DBA India House, 45 State Street, 3 parking spots on State Street for 18 people. Veracruz Foods Incorporated, DBA La Veracruzana, 31 Main Street, 1.5 parking spots cordoned off with Jersey barriers. Zingara Limited, DBA Packards, 14 Masonic Street, 396 square feet and 2 parking spots directly in front of Packards. Iconica Social Club, LLC, 1 Amber Lane, 6 parking spots in the Masonic Street parking lot adjacent to the parklet. Brewster Court Pub Incorporated, DBA Northampton Brewery, 11 Brewster Court, 50 by 30 sections, include tables, chairs, lighting, a stage, and signage indicating where alcohol is permitted. I just have to say, this is my favorite time of year. Everything's the same?
Everything is the same. I will point out that last year Homestead did not do outdoor dining in parking spots. They'd waited until Summer on Strong.
Okay.
They want to go out before Summer on Strong this year. They did do this in 2023, so they've done it before, but otherwise everything is the same.
Okay, great. I have no questions. Commissioners have any questions for Annie about that?
I think Fire has their hand up. I'd be curious to hear.
Oh,
yes. Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
So my couple of statements on these, because it's my first time hearing you guys in this meeting. Just a general advisory to the restaurants to not block egress pathways or the FDCs for the sprinklers, the buildings that have sprinkler connections. And then one question about the brewery where it mentions a stage. Are they referring to their rooftop? Or where, do you guys know where they set the stage up?
Yeah, it's on the sidewalk next to the restaurant. It's not the rooftop. So in the summertime, the city does a summer music series.
Yeah.
It's once a week. I can't remember how many weeks it goes. Annie and Amy and Jennifer probably I'll remember. But they do have music for maybe 90 minutes.
Or
It's-
is it associated with their property or on their property
It
or?
is on city, oh, go ahead, Annie.
No, it's on city property. It's Thursdays from 6 to 8. It's in partnership with the Arts Council. Mayor pays for it, and it's like on the concrete between like the garage
Yep.
and the
Okay.
brewery.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Captain Stolmeyer, do you mind repeating the thing you said about the sprinkler?
Yeah, so the buildings that have fire department connections to connect to the sprinkler system need to be, we need to maintain access to that. Sometimes with these sidewalk setups, we end up seeing tables and chairs placed in front of those connections, blocking access. And I know they're only temporary, but they can be hard to see when the sidewalk is filled with people. So I guess I just want to advise business owners that we need to be able to see the signage for those FDCs or the FDCs themselves, if at all possible.
You said FDCs?
Yes, fire department connection.
Okay. I will make note of that when I send them the license.
Thank you.
Annie, is the building department still inspecting the outdoor dining stuff like they were in the early years of doing this?
So they were doing it for COVID. I don't know, Kevin, if you want to weigh in, not to put you on the spot, but I don't know if they all need a inspection or if you just walk by and see if I don't know.
So in theory, like specific restaurants that expand their outdoor dining, their bathrooms are based upon the total number of occupants. So if they exceed that, they have to lose seating on the inside. So that's something that we came across during COVID, because the bath fixtures are based upon a certain amount of occupants. So if they increase it, some of them may not have the capacity to increase it. It is something that we can go look at, and I know with the summer on strong, it's hard to determine what patrons are visiting what restaurant, so it's going to be hard to do that. But like for Fitzwillies and the specific ones that expand in front of their business, we could do that. That makes sense.
I mean, it was more of a general question in sort of in tandem with what the fire department needs and having the setup. So it's your purview if you want to inspect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think everyone's reached their capacities for the bath.
Yep, that's great. All right, then. I think we're ready for a motion then.
So we're gonna need a motion for each one.
Okay.
Okay, I can start. Annie, do we have to reference the agenda? No, I got it. Let me try.
So
First attempt.
do you have the spreadsheet?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Let me try it and tell me if this works. So I'm making a motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for very limited DBA Fitzwillies Toasted Owl through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission, to include 2 parking spots on Lower Main Street for 6 tables, 24 chairs, and to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Beautiful. Do we have a second?
Oh, I'll second, sorry.
And Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Washut and Ware Incorporated DBA Jake's Restaurant through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission, to include approximately 130 square feet on the sidewalk for 6 patrons, to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
I'll second.
Natasha, Jennifer,
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Rias Bashas LLC, doing business as Homestead through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission to include 5 tables and 24 seats in 2.5 parking spots on Strong Avenue, and to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
I'll second.
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for More Hospitality Incorporated, doing business as The Dirty Truth through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission to include 1.5 parking spots on Lower Main Street with 6 picnic tables and 2 round tables, and to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
I'll second.
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Amy.
Yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Think Tank Brewers LLC, doing business as Progression Brewing Company through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plans on file with the License Commission to include 10 tables and 40 chairs in parking lots on Pearl Street, to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
I'll second.
Natasha, Jennifer,
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Local Burger Incorporated through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission to include 3 tables. I'm sorry, is that 9 tables? To include 9 tables and 32 chairs and 2.5 parking spots on Strong Avenue, and to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
I'll second.
Natasha, Jennifer,
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Amanews Cafe through November 14th, 2025, as shown on the plan on file with the License Commission to include 1.5 parking spots with 6 tables and 24 chairs on Lower Main Street, and to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Second.
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Let Me Be Lucy LLC, doing business as Gombo Oyster Bar through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission to include 3 parking spots on Main Street and 2 tables on the sidewalk contiguous with the restaurant, to also include sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Second.
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Amy.
Yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Saint Ari Singh Incorporated, doing business as India Palace through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission to include 2 parking spots on Lower Main Street for 6 tables and 24 chairs, and to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Yes. A second.
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Azad Bharat Incorporated, doing business as India House through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission to include 3 parking spots on State Street directly in front of the restaurant for 18 patrons, and to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Second.
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Veracruz Foods Incorporated, doing business as La Veracruzana through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission to include 1.5 parking spots on Lower Main Street and to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Second,
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Amy.
yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Zangara Limited, doing business as Packers through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission to include 2 parking spaces on Masonic Street, totaling 396 square feet, to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Second,
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Amy.
yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Iconica Social Club LLC through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission, to include 6 parking spots in the Masonic Street parking lot directly in front of 1 Amber Lane, to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Second,
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Amy.
yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Brewster Court Pub Incorporated, doing business as Northampton Brewery through November 14th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission, to include approximately 1,500 square feet of space on Brewster Court, cordoned off with planters and fencing.
Second,
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Amy.
yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for
I think-
Masa Mexicana.
We
Wait,
haven't gotten
sorry.
there.
Oh, sorry, I was just on a roll.
You're on a roll. Be
Oh my
ready.
God.
Get in there. Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome. Oh, I need a drink. A non-alcoholic drink, but just kidding. Sorry.
I'll move on to item number 6. I'll catch up with Jennifer. Applications for temporary extensions of premises for outdoor dining on private property. Masa Mexicano LLC, 176A Pine Street in Florence, approximately 1,700 square feet with 9 tables and 32 chairs. Saratoga Sports Bar Incorporated, DBA The Office, 325 Riverside Drive, approximately 300 square feet with 6 tables and 15 chairs. Drawing Board Brewing Company LLC, 36 Main Street, Florence, attached rear patio included in the lease. Notch 8 Incorporated, DBA The Deck, 125A Pleasant Street, 1,200 square feet of tent space contiguous to the deck. And everything looks the same as last year?
Everything is the same.
Alrighty. Then, does the fire department have something to add? I see the hand up, but I don't know if it's from last time.
Hi, yeah, just similar as the last time. We had an issue with Notch 8 blocking access for our engines to swing around the train station.
Okay.
Their setup is in the parking lot. So we asked that they avoid that this year. And I think what I can do, since it's all pretty much, I can see all this stuff without going into business, is just do a drive-through and make sure everything's good.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. And are we ready for a motion?
Want me to do this one and give you a break, Jen?
Sure.
I'll do on one at a time, Annie.
Yes, please.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Masa Mexicano Inc. LLC through November 14th, 2025, as shown on the plan on file with the License Commission, to include approximately 1,700 square feet with 9 tables and 32 chairs, to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Second.
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Amy.
Yes. Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Saratoga Sports Bar Inc., DBA The Office, through November 14th, 2025, as shown on the plan on file with the License Commission, to include approximately 300 square feet with 6 tables and 15 chairs.
Second.
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes. Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Drawing Board Brewing Company LLC through November 14th, 2025, as shown on the plan on file with the License Commission to include the attached patio behind 36 Main Street.
Second,
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
yes.
and Amy.
Yes. Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Notch 8 Inc., DBA The Deck through November 14, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission to include 1,200 square feet of tent space contiguous to the deck.
Second,
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Item 7, applications for temporary extension of premises for outdoor dining for the purposes of Summer on Strong. Lilo Incorporated, DBA Eastside Grill, 19 Strong Ave, 2,800 square feet on Strong Avenue for Summer on Strong. Local Burger Incorporated, 16 Main Street, 600 square feet with 9 tables for Summer on Strong. UNI Incorporated, DBA Moshi Moshi at 4 Main Street, 4 tables, 16 chairs in roughly 2 parking spots for Summer on Strong. And Rias Bashas LLC, DBA Homestead, 7 Strong Avenue, space in front of the restaurant with 10 tables and 42 chairs for Summer on Strong. And everything same as last year?
Yes, this is all the same.
All righty, I think we're ready then.
No, I don't have any questions.
Nor do I.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Lilo Incorporated doing business as Eastside Grill from May 20th, 25 through September 8th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission for the purposes of Summer on Strong to include 2,800 square feet with a capacity of 110 and to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Second.
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Local Burger Incorporated from May 20th, 2025 through September 8th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission for the purposes of Summer on Strong to include 600 square feet and the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Second.
Sorry, we had a second.
Yes, I seconded.
Thank you. Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for UNI Incorporated, DBI Moshi Moshi from May 20th, 2025 through September 8th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission for the purposes of Summer on Strong to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Second.
Natasha, Jennifer,
Yes.
Helen, Amy.
Yes.
Sorry, Amy.
All good.
Motion to approve the temporary extension of premises for Rias Bashas LLC, DBA Homestead from May 20th, 2025 through September 8th, 2025, as shown on plan on file with the License Commission for the purposes of Summer on Strong, with 10 tables and 42 chairs to include the sidewalk in between, limited to transportation of alcoholic beverages only.
Second.
Natasha,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and Amy.
Yes.
Sorry about that, Amy. Someone was coming in this room and I got completely distracted.
No worries.
All right, thanks, guys. We're done with the hard part. Item number 8, discussion on whether to implement a policy for fee waiver requests for short-term liquor licenses for nonprofits. So this came up because the APE Gallery had asked for us to consider a fee waiver due to an event that they were having at 33 Holly Street, and we offer 33 Holly Street a fee waiver, or we approve one when they request it. So Annie, thank you for providing us with the data from 2023 and 2024. And my question for you is, have you ever encountered a nonprofit who has said they are not able to apply for a short-term license due to funds.
Not for the license application fee. If anything, it would be the liquor liability insurance, or getting the alcohol from a distributor. That would be the barrier, but not, I have not encountered a single person concerned about the application fee.
Okay. I did a quick calculation and so in 2024, there were 59 total short-term licenses, 44 issued to nonprofits. 31 of those 44 received fee waivers, 13 paid for the licenses. So between the wine and malt and the all alcohol, the ones that paid, it was roughly $1,000. And that number went down a little bit from 2023 because of, I assume, the Academy of Music no longer comes to us for the short-term license. So
Correct.
from in your position, is that roughly, so my question about, is it a barrier to anybody, was if we remove the barrier, would we be inundated with requests? But it doesn't sound that way. It doesn't seem to be the case.
No. Did you do that calculation based off $61?
Yeah, well, I did the 100 for the all alcohol and
Okay.
$61 for the wine and malt.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think if we were to approve something like this, I think it would just have to go on the website and just become part of the information moving forward, rather than wait for people to ask for it or give you something extra to say to people. But what are the,
So you're saying that I would only include it on an agenda if someone requested it?
it would just, if we were to approve this, it would just sort of have to be something blanket moving forward. And it would, the website could be changed, the wording on the website for what's required for a nonprofit to apply. It would basically have to say nonprofit application fees are waived.
Okay, I think it needs to be a policy.
Yep.
So that's why I don't have a vote on here, because we would need to vote on a policy that Attorney Seawald drafts.
Well, let's see where we end up after the discussion. You know, it may be a moot point because we have not talked about it yet. In hearing that so I was not concerned it could be a barrier, but it was my question, is this a barrier for people? It sounds like it's not, so that's the good news. We already give far more waivers than not based on the city affiliations that come to us for the short term. So I'm, and especially I can't help but think of the times that we're in right now, and nonprofits and human services and everything else, and the arts, everything across the board, potentially suffering losses of federal grants now and in the future. And if there's a way that we can alleviate that, I would be in favor of it. But it is also, it would be a policy change, like Annie says. So we're shifting something forever until, a iteration of the commission wants to change it again. It's not a huge loss money-wise, but it is money. So I don't want to be flip about that. What do you guys think?
I was in exactly the same place where you were, Natasha, that it felt like small dollars, and particularly given the current economic climate where everything costs more and everyone's funding is being cut, that the last thing that we need to do is create a barrier over what are likely fundraising events for just a nominal amount of money. And my only thought was, if we felt like we wanted to somehow limit it or something, that we could do no charge for wine and malt and just keep the charge for all alcohol if we wanted to try and thread a needle. But for such small dollars, it feels cleaner to me to just say no charge for nonprofits, as long as they submit, evidence of being a nonprofit.
Right. Jennifer?
Well, the fairness of what we're doing is important to me, and I feel without a policy, it's sort of unfair if somebody doesn't know to ask for a waiver. That doesn't feel right to me. So I'm leaning towards having a policy. So the policy says, they would not have the waiver. But I'm also, I'm so impressed by the way the building inspector, you know, we've got the fire captain watching here. I mean, I feel like if folks are applying and sort of paying all of the fees, I mean, they're definitely receiving city attention and city services for those fees. So I can be persuaded either way. I just really think that we need something set, you know, either everybody pays the nominal fee, I know it's not large, or we just get rid of it for all and we cite a procedure.
I think given that, I see your point about the city services being rendered and the time, and that does equate into dollars. But the number that are already being waived, so it's twice as much as what we're not waiving. So they're already doing the work for fee waivered
That's a
license.
good point.
So
And I think there is, sorry, go ahead, Amy.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think there's also an administrative cost right now to the waiver. I think there's a form they have to fill out and Annie has to do something with it. And we would be eliminating that,
Yep.
or at least a piece of that by just waiving it outright.
Yep. Annie, did you have a thought?
Oh yeah, so the numbers I think they're going to look different in 2025 because the academy isn't like the academy would get 30 licenses a year, so the numbers are not going to look like this for 2025.
Is the academy part of the 2024?
They were I thought I gave you that information. Why didn't I? Thought I did.
It is, I mean, in 2023 you did, the 38 that got fee waivers, Academy of Music is listed, Forbes Library and Center for the Arts, and then there were 31 in 2024. So I mean, I think they got their own license at some point in 31 or 24.
So
that
2024, 19 of them were the academy.
Oh, wow.
So it'll be roughly the same. Half of them are waived, half of them are not. It's still my inclination to lean towards creating a policy that just waives them altogether.
That is my inclination as well. I don't think we're walking away from some incredible amount of revenue that would be have an impact on the city.
Yeah, and I'm happy to support that as well.
Okay. So Andy, the next step for that would be for Attorney Seawald to draft a policy that we would
Yes,
on at the next
and then I
meeting.
would bring it back for a vote.
Okay. Sounds good. Are we ready to move to the next item?
So we would be waiving every, so wine and malt and all alcohol for nonprofits. And would it just automatically happen? Okay. Okay.
All right, we ready to move on?
Mhm.
All right. Item number 9, discussion and possible vote on adding section 2.2 short-term licenses inspection to the Northampton License Commission rules and regulations. So this came up thanks to both the building department and the fire department attending these meetings and finding that some of the short-term license locations for events, for example, they arrive at 5, egresses were being blocked and safety precautions not being followed. Does fire department want to add anything else to that?
I don't know if they've seen the
Policy?
the policy.
I will read the policy. And it will read as follows: short-term licenses inspection. An applicant for a short-term liquor license shall, as part of the application package, certify that the premises to be licensed are subject to inspection by the Northampton Building Department and Fire Rescue Department no less than annually, and that such premises have been inspected within the preceding 12 months. Any applicant that cannot certify that the premises have been inspected within the preceding 12 months shall be responsible for arranging an inspection by the building department and fire rescue department, and for payment of such fees as are determined by the building department and fire rescue department prior to the issuance of the short-term license. No short-term liquor license shall be issued to any premises that have not been inspected by the building department and fire rescue department within the preceding 12 months. So my question about that is, sometimes we have really last minute additions to the agenda for short-term licenses, and how would that work if it's in a location that is new to us and then would require a visit from both fire rescue and the building department?
And I have maybe a,
Um,
sorry,
No, sorry, I thought you were asking me.
tangential related question that is, this to me reads like we just want the property inspected once a year, whereas I thought the concern was more not having that premises inspected, but the layout for the particular, like, arrive at 5 or whatever, which to me seems like it would always be a more short term, maybe not emergency, but short time frame.
So, I mean, for that, some people I'm sure don't set up until day of or an hour before. So I don't know how both departments could get there and inspect that setup.
Right.
So have there been premises then that have not been inspected at all by fire or building?
In association with our short-term licenses, probably all of them, or a lot of them, yeah. I mean, Glow have been inspected. That was the first time Glow hosted an Arrive at 5.
Okay,
I'm-
and they don't have like an annual requirement of an inspection by fire or building at the moment. It's just when they open and then best of luck. Okay,
I think so, yeah.
okay.
I mean, I think coming up with some sort of plan is important, but I also don't want to make it onerous on these departments.
I think this puts the onus on the applicant.
Right, but we don't know the timing on that. Like, an applicant could send you an application a week in advance, and as long as you get it on the agenda 48 hours before, then I mean, I guess it doesn't happen all that often that like somebody is a surprise addition to the agenda for an event that's happening very quickly after. Building department. Can you unmute Kevin? Perfect.
So we would only probably need a 1 to 2 day notice to inspect these. It's not like we need a week or 2 week notice. We're pretty flexible, and with Captain Solmeyer, there's also Captain Davis, so and there's another building inspector, so there's at least 2 from each department that could do these inspections. And you know, a day, 2 day notice wouldn't be that big of a deal in my opinion.
Okay.
So
That's helpful. Thank you. And Natalie.
Yeah, I agree with what Kevin says. I think that approaching weekends and holiday weekends is going to be challenging. So if there's a way to kind of ask anyone seeking a license to give us a week's notice, that would be very helpful. And kind of the argument to that is if I can walk into a space and see that there's a fire code violation, I could ask them to fix it immediately, and that could interrupt their event. I'd rather not do that. So As far as inspecting, there's a question about inspecting per event or just annually. At the very least, annually, I can speak with the property owner or the business owner and say, this is what we're looking for. So if you have multiple events that set up in different ways and put tables in different locations, then this is what we're looking for in terms of egress, for example, and not blocking egress or fire alarm devices. That is one conversation, a little educational session that we can have while we're there. And other events similar to what Glow had were the Back Porch Festival. Some of those smaller venues and restaurants don't make our like high hazard list of places to inspect on an annual or even 2 or 3 year basis. And we wouldn't have gone in there except for when they opened. So that's kind of part of what brought this up, is like having many people in a space. It would be helpful to have an annual inspection for those places on our part so we could kind of give them the okay going forward.
That makes sense. So Annie, administratively, what would that look like?
So I guess how would we know? So you're saying that you'd hope to inspect a certain place annually if they have more than one event a year?
No, I'm the opposite. I would say do it annually. It could be calendar year, or it could be, have you had one in the last 12 months? And then for us anyways, we would produce a passing fire inspection report. And that could be their proof to you if they were to apply a second, a third, a fourth time. Is that what you're asking?
I guess I was just trying to understand what you were getting at before, and I think it went over my head.
Yeah, which part?
What your, I guess what your requirement is, or what your, I mean, I got the part about that you would inspect annually if there's more than one event per year, but is that
No,
not?
just annually, period. So it's my understanding that you can have a business owner, but you can have different people applying for the liquor license.
I see. So
So if it's attached to the same address in the same space in the same business, then it would all count under the same inspection.
I see. So something like 33 Holly.
One inspection, yeah.
Okay.
They're required by the state to be inspected anyways, but if that weren't there, then yes, that would.
Is there another venue or area that you think would apply to that?
As far as something that's similar to 33 Holly?
Yeah.
Well, you have Academy of Music is along the same lines. They're a bigger theater space.
Yeah, they now have an annual license.
Yeah, I'd have to think about it. Possibly some Smith's College spaces.
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding correctly, then it sounds like on the administrative side, the way this would roll out, with the exception of the places that you just named, like Holly Street, as we get an application, part of Annie sees it, and because this would be a new policy, that would trigger them. She would let them know that they need to call you folks for an inspection as part of the application.
Yes.
Okay. So then it would just be, it would take some time as our usual, as people come to us for applications, to get them on a list of who does have events so that we can have sort of a record of who's had their inspection this year. Yeah, okay. So because Glow was like a, that was their first time doing that. So we're going to have a lot of places, or not, maybe not a lot, but we will have places that are kind of out of left field coming for particularly the Arrive at 5 event. So
Right.
it won't, they probably won't even come back for a second, third, or fourth in the year, but we can't predict ahead of time who those places are going to be. And that's largely the places that we're talking about, these sort of like unexpected
Right.
places for events. Okay, I'm just trying
Is
to.
it can you speak on why they give you such short notice?
I mean, if some people don't plan great, you
Yeah,
know,
I figure, yeah.
or if it's a nonprofit and the development director plans the events, but they leave and somebody else takes the job and they just don't have a rhythm for the calendar year or for
Right.
the applying for short-term licenses. Um, generally that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think most of the spaces that we don't already look at, similar to Glow, for example, probably won't take very long. Like I'm looking at 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes max.
Yeah.
So ideally, like if they didn't call late Thursday or Friday, like if we're looking at Monday through Wednesday notification, then I can get that done between Kevin and I pretty quickly. And there's so I guess a good comparison is all of our food truck events, right? So we inspect all the food trucks in the city at least once during the week, but most of the time they set up on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday when we have limited inspection. Myself and Captain Davis aren't available. During those times, if it's larger events, I can have a on-duty officer go check them out. But a lot of times we don't get around to doing it because let's face it, like for me to come in for one event doesn't make a lot of sense. So we do what we can, and in those cases, like we'll get to it when we get to it, you know? Like I think up to this point, like we've had a couple hiccups that I noticed just from joining your meetings, but I don't think it's like an end all be all. I think that if the inspection had to take place after the event, then that's what we would do, and they would then know the process and have it before the event took place.
Right, because a big part of this is education for people to understand.
Correct. I think that's the biggest part, really, because I'm looking at one business owner that is communicating with whoever's pulling the license from whatever organization or event. So I think that would make a bigger impact.
So maybe as part of the application process, instead of requiring the inspection, we require communication between the applicant and fire and building. And then the approval of the license doesn't have to be tied to that inspection. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, does the inspection take place before or after the license commission meeting? Because if it happens before, then that's presumptuous that the license is going to pass, not that one has ever not. But then if
Another reason why, if it's tied to communication, then at least fire and building can come in and say, yeah, they reached out to us. We know they're doing whatever. And either we're really concerned and we're going to get out there beforehand, or like, not a big deal, we'll do it when we can get to it, or something like that. I don't know.
I think Annie's reading the policy and she's going to have another point.
What do you think, Annie?
So communication as in reaching out to the fire department and the building department?
What about
Is
if
that-
it's something like an applicant for a short-term liquor license shall, as part of the application package, certify that either the premises that are subject to inspection and it's happened, or that there is a date set in the future or something like that.
So the only thing with that is that when people people apply, my guess is that this is going to come as
Be
a
the
surprise
first, yes.
for them, so that they're not gonna have a date.
Does it make sense can we require they do this, but not have it tied into the approval of the license?
Um, oh, okay, so the way it's written, it says that the license shouldn't be issued if they haven't had an inspection.
Right. It's a little heavy-handed for what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it needs to be revised.
Well, it's heavy-handed until we have a problem.
True.
You know, if one person gets hurt, you know, it's not so heavy. It's such a safety. I mean, I feel like if we communicate with the chamber and let them know, you know, look, if you have an arrive at 5 cancellation, like we just need an extra day or two, you know, don't come before us the day before an event. I mean, maybe we can head off some of the surprises.
I think the problem is that getting the inspection before the license is approved, and if for some reason, if the license isn't approved, then they've gone through getting an inspection for no reason.
But it's for safety. I mean, there's always a reason.
Well, if there's no event, then there's no need.
And we have our Captain and Kevin's hands raised.
Yeah, if I can just add some more highlight on kind of what we do in regards to these types of inspections, similar to the annual licenses. At the very least, we do make sure that egresses are clear and fire alarm equipment is working and fire suppression equipment is working. I don't find too many commercial spaces where this equipment hasn't been serviced. For example, it should all be serviced annually. There's a few that I walk in there and there's a trouble on their fire alarm panel, meaning something's not working right. I would be very cautious of allowing people to gather in one of those spaces if those devices aren't working. And I would only find that in some cases on an inspection. In these cases, the reason I'm asking you to notify us or put this as a mandatory requirement is so that we can make the space safe for the allotted capacity and for adding alcohol to those spaces in some instances. So there are things that we can say like, oh, you have an E-light out. In the grand scheme of things, yes, it's important. If we were to be consistent with annual liquor license inspections, then they would have to fix that before we gave Annie the okay to approve those annual licenses. In these cases, much smaller venues, in some cases, for the temporary licenses or seasonal licenses, you as a committee can choose to decide what you want, but in terms of consistency between myself and, if I could speak for Kevin, we could either be consistent with the annual licenses or we can put a rush on it and make sure the most important things are accomplished and then circle back. I think personally, I would like to see the space looked at prior to getting approval from you guys. So if they do have a high priority item on their punch list, I could let you know that. And does that waive their right to have that event? That's up to you guys. But under the fire code, like if it's a serious enough infraction, then I can deny people entry into that space, as can Kevin.
Kevin, what would you like to offer?
So is there like a list that, people like their repeat users for the Arrive at 5 that you could send an email out to saying, like certain establishments that do it every year, or where you know that they're gonna be applying for it, where you could kind of give them notification ahead of time?
So Arrive at 5s are all different every month. But I mean, I could probably gather a list of all the businesses that have the same event every year. But the Arrive at 5s is usually typically different.
Okay,
Well, we could ask the chamber, I think Jennifer suggested it too, ask them to notify their potential hosts that there is a change, and it's the responsibility of the host to get in touch with you and figure this out.
And a lot of the times like there's one that's gonna be on the May agenda. And it's for outside, but it's not happening until the end of June. So it wouldn't, I mean, sorry, the end of July. So, and maybe there wouldn't even need to be an inspection because it's outside Outlook Park. So
Could we,
I don't know. Sorry, go ahead, Amy.
a different way of thinking about it, could we, instead of mandating, though I hear Captain Stolmeyer's concern, and maybe there's a way to encourage but not mandate having the inspection as part of the application, say something like, all short-term liquor licenses are issued subject to approval by fire and building following an inspection, and then encourage applicants to do that in advance if we can, or suggest to them, or let the fire and building know who's coming up on the agendas or something like that, but only require that it's the license issues subject to that inspection, so that it could happen after the fact if it needs to for whatever reason.
I like that language. And I think if our biggest concern here is timing of applications, events, and these inspections happening, we're not really good. We could be creating it. We could be talking about an issue that might not present itself also. We could move forward with this and see what happens and have some flexibility and tweak things as necessary. And with the communication, if Annie emails anybody who's ever gotten a short-term license and let them know this is going to be a new policy. If you plan to get a license this year, please make arrangements with building and fire department. And then ask the chamber to do the same with their membership. And that would actually be a very helpful way if they did it for their whole membership, just to get the word out in general.
I think in terms of public safety, it would be a great policy. I mean, it's to everyone's benefit. I'm thinking, inspect my office, make sure I'm safe. I mean, I think before inviting anyone on someone's space, they should want the inspection. It's for all of our protection. So I really feel a responsibility.
Yeah, so it's just going to be about communicating the change.
Yep.
And, and we also made a semi commitment over the last year to be, because we've had some months where we've had a lot of special meetings because people are missing their calendar dates. There's special meetings because Zoom goes down. That's necessary, but there have definitely been, we've made some accommodations for people that were really because of their lack of organization, and we don't have to subject ourselves to that all the time. So I think if, in adopting this policy, it's just going to be about communicating the change to anyone who's ever gotten a short-term license and to the Chamber of Commerce. And perhaps you could they could issue the same email that you send Annie to their membership.
So are you talking about keeping the language as is?
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to defer to the fire department and the building department and what they consider best safest practices. And if it's not onerous on them to be doing this, then it really shouldn't be onerous on the host of a business event or some other, networking event to do it as well. It's just going to be about communicating the change.
Captain Stolmeier's hand is up.
Oh, yes, Captain Stolmeyer.
If it helps, I know for the seasonal liquor licenses, the building and fire department have put together a list of requirements that are emailed out to business owners ahead of time. I believe Kim or Beth might have access to that. So if you'd like to send that along with your email list, that is everything per fire and building code that we look at. So they can be prepared ahead of time if they want to.
Yep. That would be helpful. Amy, what are your thoughts on this in adopting this policy as written with that communication to previous applicants?
The one that I'm just trying to wrap my brain around right now is Arts Night Out, that gets all of their short terms in a bundle and has a lot of quirky spaces. And so I guess it would be great to communicate to them now so that maybe they could spread out those inspections so that come December or whatever, fire and building aren't getting presented with, 20 different random venues looking to get an inspection all at once. I don't know. I agree with Jennifer that the inspection is important and I think it should happen. My hang up is I'm a little worried about how it's going to work requiring it before they come in front of us and talk. And my gut is it makes more sense. My gut is it's going to be situational and there are going to be some times where that just doesn't make sense or makes less sense. But I also feel like we could try it and see what happens and maybe not agonize over a problem that might not exist.
Right. And, and for Arts Night Out, we have that existing list now of current Arts Night Out venues. Right. There's a punch list for the fire department and building department to, those are folks who should be inspected because.
Totally. It would be great to proactively spread out those inspections or something again to avoid.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering, Amy, if some of those studios and quirky spaces are part of a larger structure, which would have the more formal annual inspection.
Right.
Are they really a one-off or are they really part of, I don't know, the gigantic D.A. Sullivan building or a bigger property?
So are some of these is it possible that some of these Arts Night Out venues that are at like Pinch Pottery and like small stores downtown, is it possible that they wouldn't have the requirements? Because I mean, with my economic development hat on, I don't want to add this barrier to them. I don't know, Kevin or Captain Stolmeyer, if there's a chance that some of these small mom and pops downtown would not pass.
So this is my take, is we're just going in there to look to see what safety measures they have in place. we can't go and say, okay, now you're having this event, you're gonna have to add A, B, C, and D to your business. It's just, we're going in there to make sure what life safety equipment and stuff they have is operational and up to current code.
What if they don't have any?
And
I don't know, maybe everyone downtown does, I just don't know.
usually there's extinguishers in each business, and I would say majority of the buildings downtown are monitored by a fire alarm. Captain Stolmeyer might be able to confirm or deny that, but it's not like we're gonna ask them to add more safety measures to it. It's just, we're going to look in there to make sure their egresses are not blocked, fire extinguisher working, and they got a current fire alarm inspection done.
Okay, thank you.
Helpful.
So if the
Yeah.
inspection is that limited, then I would argue that if somebody didn't pass, then they truly shouldn't have the event. They shouldn't have the guests in the space.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds a lot less onerous the way Kevin's just laid it out. Can you get in and out of your door? Do you have fire alarms? Do you have an extinguisher? Annie, does that make sense to your economic development hat wearing?
What?
What Kevin just said in relation to your question of,
Yeah, oh, what Kevin said, yeah, that's helpful to know.
So a regular like Pinch. Pinch is not annually inspected for fires or building safety. No, okay.
in a place like Pinch, all they would need is an egress that is not obstructed, a working
Yeah.
fire alarm system, and a fire extinguisher. There might be a run on fire extinguishers because I don't know how many galleries downtown might have them, but I would expect, and I mean, the next layer of this is if it's someplace like Pinch and they're leasing their space, the fire alarm system is going to be the responsibility of the landlord of the building. And if we have a building that, for example, an absentee landlord owns, then what do we do?
And I'm thinking tying this to the application, though I get why we're doing it, is imposing this burden on, say, the nonprofit that wants to host their fundraiser at XYZ store or venue. And are they gonna, I don't know, I worry about that dynamic too, of if I'm the DNA and I want to have my event at Pinch, to pick up Pinch. Now it's on me to go hunt down the owner of Pinch to make sure that they have done whatever they need to do to comply with building and fire. Not that those aren't important things, but you're now asking a nonprofit or a non-property owner to be navigating property owner responsibilities, which I'm also wrestling with.
We also, we don't have to vote on this today. We've had a long discussion about it. I want to be mindful of people's time, given it's a special middle of the business day meeting. I'm happy to continue with the discussion, but I want if we feel like we need to move on from it, because it's been we're sort of uncovering layers of concerns for the multitude of businesses that would be seeking these applications.
I'd love to take some time to think about it and talk about it at our next meeting unless there's an urgency to decide before then.
For Captain Stolmeyer and Kevin, or do you feel like there's an urgency to make a decision on this? Captain Stolmeyer?
I don't think so. Speaking for myself, I think that, the places that I have seen approved that had something wrong in the past, concerning, yes, which is why I brought it forward to your committee. But is there something happening in the immediate future that any building that might be having an event that I don't already inspect, is probably a smaller space, like you said. So like the pottery space, if that's the one I'm thinking of, that's a part of Thorns. So some businesses like that, we do inspect Thorns annually, but we only do common spaces. So that would just be what's in their space. Do they have egresses clear? Something simple. I'm more concerned with the capacity of Thorns and people to egress from there, which is why we already do them annually. So I'm sure if you put a list together of previous applicants, then I could probably pick out some that are more concerning and some that I haven't been to ever in my 2 years in this office, or look back in our records and find that we haven't been there in a while, and I could probably say, hey, yeah, we do a couple of these annually, don't worry about them. And of course, I would approve of more time because I want you guys to be sure in your decision for consistency's purposes. That's kind of the premise behind what I do in my office. If I'm not sure, then I at least need to be consistent. So I'm all in favor of talking to each of you individually. If you prefer to call me at some point, or reach out, then I'm happy to do that.
Yep. And again, it's really made such a difference to have fire department and building department come to our meetings. I know I personally have learned an awful lot, and I think it just makes for more safer businesses and events. So
Of course.
thank you. Okay, so let's table this, continue to think about it, talk to people we need to talk about to, and pick it back up at the May 21st meeting.
So no,
that'd
you
be-
don't want me to have Seawald make any amendments to the language, just as is, we'll pick this back up in May.
I think so, yeah, because I don't know what amendments we would want to make.
Okay.
Unless Amy, I know you had the bit more issues with the language. Do you?
I am still, my gut right now, if we were voting on it, is that I don't mind tying issuance of the license to some approval by building and fire. I'm worried about this such stringent set of rules, A, coming with the application, and B, where I think it's a little more situational than what we're allowing flexibility for.
Okay.
I don't know that I could articulate that into anything for Attorney Seawald though, so.
Okay. We can always email him before the next meeting and maybe ask for a couple different options.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Thank you for that discussion, everybody. Very helpful.
Captain Stolmeyer has her hand up.
Yes. Thank you, Amy.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Captain Stolmeyer.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys letting me come on and share my knowledge on this. I do have to excuse myself, so I'm gonna, I guess, leave the meeting at this point. And please reach out to me at any point if you have questions or you're confused about any of what we do. I enjoy talking to people about it, especially if your committee is the one that are speaking to the business owners. I need you and I want you to know and understand what we do so that they in turn get the same idea when they speak to you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Captain,
good
do you mind sending me those, the punch list items that need to be done for seasonal licenses?
Yes, I believe Beth has a copy of that.
Oh, okay, I'll call Beth. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Thank you. All right. We ready to move on? Yes. Okay. Item number 10, we have a discussion and possible vote on the means to issue an annual all alcohol on premise license not renewed for 2025. And this is in reference to the license that had been held by NoHo Social. So we talked I don't remember, at a recent meeting, we asked Annie to go through the touch points that she'd had with the business to sort of help us assess, knowing that there had been a loss, and a closure in October. We just said, so we needed Annie's information to help assess whether or not to reissue the license, or since the license was not renewed, keep it. So we came to the conclusion that the license had not been renewed, that Annie had made every effort that was reasonable and expected for a license holder, and that there were no responses to it essentially until after the fact. So now, we've been talking the last couple of meetings about how would we reissue when we have one license? Would we continue with a lottery process? Would we do an application process? And of course, since then, we've now learned from Garrick Perry that, there's sort of a business plan in motion to get this place back up and running, and a request has been made to have that license returned. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. I, to sort of speak to what Captain Stolmeyer just said about consistency, I think we've been working hard the last few years on this commission with being consistent with our decisions, but also we've left room to take into account situational things, and I think that's important as well. I'll be honest, my inclination is to stick with the consistency policy on this one, to not return the license due to the fact that the level of communication that Annie had attempted was, I think more than sufficient. But I also am very open to hearing what you guys have to say, because this is from an economic standpoint, a worthy business to try and keep open. And I also know, I think there has been another inquiry about this license too. So there's that to consider as well.
My question, Natasha, is what communication do we weigh more? Garrick's here today, so are we weighing, and I guess this is a judgment for each of us, but do we weigh today's communication over the prior lack of communication? Because of course I'm thinking of, Mr. Schur and the Calvin, right? And the lack of communication, or, other instances with them, that we have communication now. So what's that worth? I'm not phrasing this very eloquently, but I just think there's a value in folks being at the table now.
Absolutely.
There are others that we've worked with that we couldn't get to this point. So a part of me doesn't want to look in the rear view too much and think about where we are now. But I understand where you're coming from with the consistency. I wish we had this communication all along, because I think we wouldn't be here. But let's look at where we are now.
Right. I mean, I guess that it means reconsidering our decision about the license, because we made a decision to rescind the license. So we would have to reconsider that. Amy, what are your thoughts?
I think my initial gut was, I think they did lose the license, and I don't think we have a clear mechanism for giving the license back. And I do think consistency is important in that regard, because I don't think we want to find ourselves in a scenario where this happens repeatedly, and then each time it happens, we're trying to weigh some sort of qualitative analysis about who did a better job at arguing that they should get their license back. But knowing that they are here now makes me not want to sit on the license. Or I know last time we had talked a lot about the economic benefit that this license holds, which I think it does. But knowing now that there is a business active and engaged again, makes me want to do something sooner. And so for me, thinking about this before the meeting, I guess where I felt was just wrestling between, I sort of accepted the fact that they had lost the license and we were now holding the license. And so my plan was, how do we not hold the license anymore and get it to somebody who could do something? And in my mind, there are two pathways. Either we want to make some sort of qualitative judgment and do an application process, or we want to do a lottery and not get into the weeds of the qualitative analysis.
Add another layer to that. We also talked about if we, either way, if it were application or lottery, what would the conditions be for both? Is in, you know, we've, depending on this, the, you know, the landscape of things, we've changed the conditions of the lottery system. And we talked about not wanting to create barriers, not wanting to be as restrictive as we have in the past, but in the past, we were able to be restrictive really because of the demand, right? So we required people to already be holding a wine and malt license in good standing to be open 12 months of the year. You know, now in this current economic landscape, we're talking about things like people proposing businesses, you know, coming to us saying, I want to open a restaurant, but I'm going to need a